students, as we discussed in the last class, the division Bryopsida, which consists of the green plants, which are considered as the amphibians of the plant kingdom. These Bryopsidas are classified into 3 special categories based on the thallus structures. There are mainly 2 categories, that is thallophytic plant body and leafy plant body, as we discussed in the last class. The thallophytic plant body plants, the plants which considered comes under the thallophytic plant body, is again classified into 2, that is marcantia and anthoceros. So now what we are going to study is, we are going to study about the first type study, that is called as the marcantia. These marcantias are usually are the thallophytes which is considered as the liverworts, under the liverworts because of its shape, that is liver shape. Okay, so we are going to study about this marcantia in this session. This marcantia is a huge concept again. So to consider, okay, to make it smaller and make our study easier, I'm going to divide this concept into 5 different sections. In this session, we are going to study about the external morphology of the marcantia. So now we are going to study the external morphology, habit and habitats of the marcantia. Coming on to habit and habitats, marcantias are, you can see the picture of marcantia in the right side. So marcantias are usually, these are the green plants. These are usually the green plants which grows in water, moist and damp soil. Watery, moist, shady, damp soil. They are also found in the river banks, moist rocks, etc. Okay. So this marcantia has around 23 genera and 65 species. These marcantia has around 23 genera and 65 species. In that, 11 species are found in India, which includes Marcantia polymarpa, okay, Marcantia palmate, Marcantia indica, Marcantia simlana. Okay, these are the species which is found in India. So just there are different other species. Okay, in that, Marcantia polymarpa is a one species which is found in the river banks of Kaveri. Okay. So this marcantia are the simplest plant bodies. They are thallophytic in nature. This is about the habitat. Now we'll study about the structure. Okay, coming on to the classification, marcantia is considered to be under the division bryophytes. Why? Because bryophytes are the green plants which require land and water for the completion of the life cycle. So these marcantia comes under the division bryophytes. They are considered to be the amphibians of the plant kingdom. Under bryophytes, they come under the class Hepatopsida. Hepatopsida because Hepatopsida are usually considered as the liverworts because they are the shape of the Hepatopsidas are liver shaped. The plants which comes under the liver Hepatopsida are usually liver shaped. So these are called as the liverworts. In liverworts, totally in Hepatopsida, there are around 285 genera and 2,500 species in Hepatopsida. Again, Hepatopsida is classified into different orders. One such order is Marcantiales. Okay, one such order is Marcantiales. Under Marcantiales, there is one family that is called as Marcantiaceae. Under Marcantiaceae, we study about Marcantia, that is the genus. So, Marcantia comes under the division Bryophyte, the Bryopsida, class Hepatopsida, order Marcantiales, family Marcantiaceae. In Marcantia, there are around, as I told you, there are around 65 species. Okay, so this is about the classification. Coming on to the external morphology. Coming on to the external morphology, the marcantia's plant body is gametophyte. As I told you, the marcantia plant produces the gametes. So the plant body, dominating plant body is gametophyte. Gamete producing plant bodies. So the predominant plant body is gametophytic in nature. They are usually thallophytic in nature. They are usually thallophytic in nature because they do not have the differentiated structure like root, stem, leaf, etc. They have a mass of tissues which is usually made up of parenchymatous cells, and these are very simple in its structure. So they are thallophytic in nature. Okay, they have a very simple plant body. They are thallophytic in nature. And how they are thallophytic mass of tissue which is made up of parenchymatous cells. They are thin. They are very thin. You can see the picture at your right side. Okay, so they are very thin in nature. They are very thin, flat. They grow dorsal onto the surface of the land. Okay, so they are going flat onto the surface of the land. Okay, and this thin structure can be differentiated in dorsal surface and ventral surface. So they are called as dorsi-ventrally flat. So that has a points mentioned. Marcantias are thin, dorsi-ventrally flat in nature. Okay, they are thallophytic, dorsi-ventrally flat. Means the thin structure. If you take your hand, okay, thumbs of your hand, this section can be considered as marcantia. It can be differentiated into upper region and lower region, right? So as such, here even marcantia can be differentiated into upper region and the lower region. The upper region is called as the dorsal region. In the lower region, which is facing towards the earth, is called as the ventral region. So these plant body can be differentiated into dorsal and ventral region. They are called as dorsi-ventrally flat. How they are differentiated? The dorsal region is usually very green in color and photosynthetic in nature, whereas the ventral region is slightly colorless in nature, and they develop the rhizoids. I'll say you about the dorsal region and ventral region. Okay, the first point is the marcantias are dorsi-ventrally flat, means the flat body can be differentiated into upper and lower region. They are branched. You can see the picture here. Okay, they get branched. How they get branched? They branch. Usually, the branches are usually dichotomous branches. Dichotomous branches means if they branch equally into two halves. So see here, this is also dividing from the thallus, but equally they are dividing into two halves. Even here you can find two lobes here. So when they branch equally into two different branches. So they are called dichotomous branches. And at the branches, okay, wherever it branches, at the apex, at the tip of the branches, they have a thick region called as notch. Okay, at the edge, at the apical end of the branches, they have a thick nodule. So they are called as apical notch. And they grow around 2 to 10 centimeters long onto the surface. So how is the external plant body? The external plant body is green, gametophytic in nature. The plant is simple and thallophytic because they have the mass of parenchymatous tissue. They are green, they undergo photosynthesis. They are thin and flat. They are differentiated into dorsal and ventral region. So they are called as dorsi-ventrally flat, and they undergo branching. The branching is always dichotomous branching because they branch or divide equally. And at the apex of the branch, they have a thick tissue called as notch, which is called apical notch. Usually, this marcantia, when they grow around 2 to 10 centimeters in their length. They grow dorsal onto the surface of the land. They grow horizontal to the surface of the land. Okay, so this is about the external plant body. Now, differentiating the dorsal region and the ventral region. this is the marcantia. Okay, you can see, and here you can see that the flat body, the flat marcantia, thin flat dorsiventral flat region, okay, can be divided. Okay, they have a midrib. Okay, deep groove which separates the two parts. This is called as the midrib. Okay, midrib is present. You clearly see here this region. You can find the thick part where they are dichotomously. Here these are dichotomously getting branched, and the tip of the marcantia, they have thick edges. These edges are called as apical notches. These apical notches are helpful in the vegetative reproduction in the later stages. So these are apical notches which develops. So now they are green, flat, they have the midrib, they undergo dichotomous branching, they have the apical notch. Okay, so next picture. So now when you consider the first coming onto the dorsal surface, the dorsal surface is green and shiny. They're shiny because they are covered with thick capsule. They are shiny because they are covered with thick capsule. Thick layer of what? Gelatin. Thick layer of tissue, which is usually thick waxy layer. Okay, I forgot the term. They are covered with thick waxy layer which can avoid the desiccation, avoid the plant's water evaporation, transpiration during the summer season, or avoids desiccation. And when you observe the plant body very closely, the plant body are divided into rhomboidal shaped structures. There are a number of rhomboidal shaped structures, okay, sections, and each rhomboidal shape has the holes on it, so they are called as the pores. Okay, they are thin, flat, dorsiventral in nature. On the dorsal side, they are green, covered with waxy coat, and it is divided into various sections. Each sections are divided in the shape of rhomboid, and each rhomboidal shape has small pores on it, air pores on it. So you can see it very clearly. I'll show you the points later. So here, dorsal surface, coming on to the dorsal surface. Dorsal means upper surface, what you can see, not the surface which is facing the earth, which is the upper surface. Dorsal surface is green. They have midrib, as we saw it in the picture. They have the midrib. They have the longitude. The midrib, how is the midrib? It is longitudinal median groove. They have groove, a halo structure on the dorsal surface. The dorsal surface has rhomboidal areas. Okay, prominent pores are present in the rhomboidal areas. And on the dorsal surface, they have, on the midrib, which is the dorsal surface, they have the gemma cups or gemma cups. Some people pronounce it as gemma cups. Okay, they have the gemma cups, and gemma cups are very much important in vegetative reproduction. So these gemma cups produces the gemme on the dorsal region. They have a cups which is produced. Okay, these are called as gemma cups. And inside this gemma cups, they have the vegetative reproductive organ called as gemme, which helps in the vegetative reproduction. And in the midrib, okay, they also develop the sexual reproduction organs called as gametophores. Sexually reproducing organ called as gametophores. And these gametophores are divided into two types, which carries the male gamete and the female gamete. There are two types of gametophores. That is antheridiophores. That is the stalk which carries the reproductive organs. Male reproductive organ is called as antheridiophores. And they have the female reproductive organ carrying stalk called as the archegoniophores. So antheridiophores and archegoniophores are present. Antheridiophores are responsible for producing the antheridia. Antheridia is nothing but male gamete producing plant. Okay, male gamete. And archegoniophores are responsible for produce the archegonia, which is nothing but the female gamete. Okay, so this is about the dorsal surface. And we'll now see the pictures related to the dorsal surface. So this is the marcantia dorsal surface. They have a central midrib which is grooved, okay, and they are dividing dichotomously branched, and they have the apical notch. You can see they have the apical notch, and they have the gemma cups. These cup-like structures are called as gemma cups, and these cups help in the vegetative reproduction. Okay, and I'll show you the detailed picture also. So this is the gemma. You can see. Okay, this is the gemma cup. Gemma cup is present. Individual gemma cup. Inside, you can find dumbbell-shaped particles here. These dumbbell-shaped particles are called as gemmates. It is the gemmates which helps in the vegetative reproduction. Gemmates are found inside the gemma cup. Where is gemma cup found? Gemma cup is found on the dorsal surface in the midrib of the marcantia. And we'll study about the rest of the pictures also. So this is again the gemma cup and having any gemmates in it you can find. And gemmates are dumbbell shaped in nature. Okay, so now coming on to the ventral surface. The ventral surface is usually light green colored or sometimes colorless in nature because it does not help in the photosynthesis. It is only the dorsal surface which helps in the photosynthesis, whereas the dorsal surface undergoes photosynthesis. As a result of photosynthesis, they produce the starch. They produce the glucose, starch, or the food substances. The produced food on the dorsal surface is transported towards the lower part, the ventral surface, and the ventral surface is helpful in the storage of the food. That is why they are not green in color, they are colorless because they do not undergo photosynthesis, but they store the photosynthetic food in the ventral surface. Not only that, this on the ventral surface, they have hairy structures. The hairy structures are otherwise called as the rhizoids. The rhizoids are the root-like structures. It is not the root which is present in the marcantia or bryophyte. They have root-like structures called as rhizoids. The roots the rhizoids are of two types. Okay, they might be the simple rhizoid or pegged rhizoids. Simple rhizoids are simply they are unicellular hairy part, okay, which helps in the anchorage and fixation. Okay, if it is simple unicellular hairs, that is called a simple rhizoid. Sometimes the rhizoids are branched, okay, so they are called as pegged rhizoids. Usually these rhizoids are helpful in the absorption and fixation. What is the function of rhizoids? The rhizoid's function is to absorb and fix the nutrients. Next is, with the rhizoids, they have scaly structures. Okay, means hard scaly structures. These scaly structures are usually purplish in color, flat in nature, and they are multicellular. Rhizoids are usually unicellular, whereas the scales are flat, purplish, and multicellular in nature. Okay, they are arranged in 2 to 4 rows. Okay, in the sides of the midribs, and their function is to protection. It protects the marcantia from various activities. So the scale function is to protect the marcantia. So this is about the habitate, and external morphology of the marcantia. So the marcantia is flat, dorsi-ventrally in nature. Dorsal surface is green, ventral region is colorless. The dorsal surface produces the photosynthesis, undergoes photosynthesis and produces the food. Ventral surface stores it. On the ventral surface, they have the hairy structures which helps in the anchorage and fixation. This is called as the rhizoids. They are not the true roots, they are root-like structure called as rhizoids. Rhizoids are of two types, simple rhizoids and pegged rhizoids. With the rhizoids, they have the scales which has the protection. Now we'll see the picture of the ventral surface. So this is the structure of the ventral surface. So you can see. So the narrow groove which divides the midrib is now you can see as the thick midrib here. And on the midrib, okay, they have the hard scaly structures called as the scales. These scales help in the protection. And the sides of the scales, they have number of hairy structures here. Okay, these hairy structures are called as the rhizoids. Rhizoids are the rhizoids. And here also you can see number of hairy structures, these are called as simple rhizoids. So this is about the external morphology of the marcantia. And now we'll stop here. And in the next session, we'll be studying about the internal anatomy. Okay, so thank you. If you have any doubts still here, you can ask me through messaging or thank you.